Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. I'm Nicolette Hodge, and this is We Reflect the Light. Sisters and brothers, the war in the Middle East is intensifying. We are feeling the effects of this war. The whole world is feeling the effects of this war. And the unsealed scriptures tells us exactly how this war will turn out. It tells us who's involved. The unsealed scriptures tells us how this is going to affect us, sisters and brothers. So we're going to get right into chapter 12 of Revelations, which is the angel. The unsealed book of Revelations is the angel, sisters and brothers. And occurred war in the heaven. The Michael and the angels of him, of the two war with the dragon. And the dragon warred and the angels of it. And not it proved strong. Not but place was found of them yet in the heaven. And was thrown the dragon the great, the serpent the archaic, the being called devil and the Satan, the making to err, the being inhabited whole. He was thrown into the earth, and the angels of him with him were thrown. All right, sisters and brothers, so we're given a location of where this war is taking place at. We're given the participants, and we're told who's aligned on each side. It's two groups here fighting against each other. And we are told who will be victorious and who will be defeated. All right, so and occurred war in the heaven. What is heaven, sisters and brothers? Heaven is the Middle East. This reality teaches us that heaven is somewhere in the sky, somewhere in the clouds, something that we can't see, cannot verify, cannot prove. And that right there is a red flag, sisters and brothers. Heaven is not a mystery, it's not a spook, or anything like that. It is the Middle East. And by their own definition or perspective, or what this reality teaches us, that heaven is something above the clouds and the stars and the moon, well, how could there be a war happening in heaven? How could we even be aware that there's a war going on in heaven? And if heaven is some realm that you cannot physically see or bear witness to, so if this is some mystical realm, then how could there be a war going on in heaven? How's there a war going on above our head and these different participants and the outcome? Why does any of that matter to us? We're here on the planet. And if heaven is somewhere mystical, some mystical realm, why do we care about what's going on in a whole nother? You see what I'm saying, sisters and brothers? It's a spook. This reality teaches us fairy tales, teaches us illusions, has us believing in all these illusions. However, the unsealed scriptures clears all of that up, sisters and brothers. It tells us exactly who's who, what's what. It gives us geographical landmarks of what's taking place in different parts of the planet and how that relates to us and why these things are happening. So we don't have to guess. We don't have to be off in la la land. This is the definite, sisters and brothers. So war is the Middle East. So the war in heaven is the war in the Middle East. Michael and the angels of him of the two war with the dragon. And the dragon warred and the angels of it. So there we have two groups. Michael and his angels versus the dragon and his angels. Okay, and not it proved strong, not but place was found of them yet in the heaven. And was thrown the dragon the great, the serpent the archaic, the being called devil and the Satan, the making to err, the being inhabited whole. he was thrown into the earth, and the angels of him with him were thrown. So this verse identifies, these verses, this scripture identifies that the dragon and his angels will be kicked out of the Middle East. They will be defeated. They will lose the war to Michael and his angels. Michael and his angels will be victorious. They will win the war. So this is the outcome, sisters and brothers. We know exactly who's going to win. So let's keep moving. Who is Michael and his angels, and who is the dragon and his angels? Oh, excuse me, sisters and brothers. All right, give me one moment. All right. Michael and his angels. Michael is the God Master Farad Muhammad. He is our God. He is our brother. All right. And his angels are also our brothers, Iran and Syria. All right, that's Michael and his angels. The dragon is the House of Saud, America, Britain. Excuse me, the dragon is the House of Saud, and his angels are America, Britain, and false Israel. So the House of Saud will be defeated in this war, along with America, Britain, and false Israel. The dragon and his angels will lose this war. Michael and his angels will win this war. Now, what does this mean for us? And before we get to that part, what's one of the consequences of this war? Well, America gets quite a bit of their oil from the Middle East. We are in this industrialized complex, if you will. America's entire economic system runs off of fuel. Fuel is the lifeblood of America's economy. And without fuel, there's no America. From my perspective, not America as we know it. Without fuel, America is a third world country overnight, because they need fuel to do everything. They need fuel to clean water, for transportation, to produce crops, to harvest crops, to get that food to the grocery store, with trucks and airplanes, and they need fuel for lights, heat. Without fuel, that is a total economic destruction, sisters and brothers. So, as a result, and which we're already feeling the effects of it now, sisters and brothers, the war in the Middle East is already causing a domino effect around the planet. And it is specifically affecting America. We'll get into that. Now, once Iran, Syria, who is being backed by our God, Master Farad Muhammad, once they are victorious, which is any day, sisters and brothers, America and Britain and the House of Saud will be kicked out of the Middle East. Iran is going to permanently cut off America's oil supply from the Middle East. Iran will be in control of our holy sites, of our oil, of our land, which is Arabia. Arabia is our promised land, sisters and brothers. The House of Saud is sitting on our land, pretending that it's there, pretending that it's their land. The House of Saud was placed over in our land, Arabia, to secure oil to America and Britain. All right, so the dragon fuels its angels. All right, so the House of Saud gives oil to America and Britain and false Israel. Now, America claims that they only get a small percentage of oil from the Middle East. If that's true, then why is it such a big deal? Why not just keep moving? Why do you need oil from the Middle East at all if it's such a small amount that it doesn't? So just understand that these devils are lying to us. They're telling us on CNN and, the local news that everything's going to be fine. As we are witnessing America crumble from its very foundation right before our eyes, we're watching as the oil prices continue to rise, climbing higher and higher. Food prices are going up. America is clearly under economic stress, deploying more and more troops to go fight in the Middle East. It's clear that America's not doing good. It's clear that America is under extreme pressure on all sides. And the last thing that they want to do, sisters and brothers, is alert you as to what's really going on. So they paint this picture like everything's okay. Trump acts like, he got this and the war is about to be over. The unsealed scriptures tells us exactly how the war will end. It's not going to end with any peace talks. It's not ending with an agreement. It's ending with the House of Saud, America and Britain getting kicked out of the Middle East, false Israel left stranded and under siege and destroyed in the same manner that false Israel has been over in the Middle East, in the Holy Land, causing destruction. So we are in the time of judgment, sisters and brothers. We are in the time of consequence. America has gone all over, taking all over the planet, taking from all these different nations, things that does not belong to America, terrorizing. Scriptures tells us that the devil sets out to steal, kill, and destroy, make mischief and shed blood. And that's exactly what America, Britain, and false Israel have been doing and are doing. So they don't have any fear of consequence. However, That just shows how mundane and shows how their thinking is on a very low level, because they have been going around stealing, taking from everyone, and they didn't think there was going to be a consequence for that. So America is over in the Middle East. Why are they there? Why are they in our land? Why are they in heaven? Taking resources, murdering, those who live in heaven, starving women and children, blowing up schools, hospitals, civilian residential areas, taking land that does not belong to them, stealing resources. Why is America over there, sisters and brothers? And why are they fighting to maintain power and control in a land that does not belong to them? So before we get into that, with the oil being cut off, sisters and brothers, this is going to cause economic destruction. This is going to cause famine. There will not be any food, no grocery stores, no fast food, nor DoorDash, no drive-thrus, no Amazon deliveries. None of that, sisters and brothers. Understand that life will change totally. Things will not be the same. You will not feel like you feel like right now. Understand that as well. We are in the time of unprecedented trouble. So, in a time of unprecedented trouble, that means that anything can happen, sisters and brothers. And scriptures tells us that they're dealing with us shrewdly. So they have plans in place to destroy us for several different reasons, sisters and brothers. Their plans are in place to destroy us. And this economic collapse that's about to take place as a result of America losing the war in the Middle East, they're going to react to this economic collapse according to their nature. They're beast. All right? They're weak and wicked by nature. You have not seen these devils with their back against the wall. You have not seen these devils in full-fledged survival mode. However, the scriptures tells us what it is that they will be doing. And these devils are telling us out of their own mouths, which we'll get into that, what they will be doing. And it goes hand in hand with scriptures. So let's keep moving, sisters and brothers. In order to understand how critical this situation is, sisters and brothers, we must understand who we are. We are the true seed of Abraham. We have a vision. We have the Abrahamic covenant. And we also have a messenger of the covenant to ensure that we get the message of the Abrahamic covenant, which is our vision. He is also Joshua, the Messiah, who leads us home to our promised land, which is Arabia. In that day, God made a covenant with Abram, saying, "Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the great river of Egypt, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates." Excuse me, sisters and brothers. This is our vision, sisters and brothers. Our vision is being blocked by the chief demon, Louis Farrakhan. He says that we ain't going nowhere. He's pushing reparations on us. All right, these preachers and deacons out here, they're not allowed to tell you the Abrahamic covenant. They're pushing the American dream, which is an illusion. Part of that illusion is mind control, them controlling our mind, telling us that we're sinful, we ain't going nowhere. Pray to Jesus, which the name Jesus is nowhere in the original manuscripts. It's a made-up name. Comes from Greek mythology. However, as a people, sisters and brothers, they have us believing in all of these illusions. And they keep us wrapped up in these illusions so that we don't get in touch with reality, identifying what's real. And having a vision to unite under. Scriptures tells us that a people without a vision will perish. So they block our vision so that we don't achieve or fulfill our vision, the Abrahamic covenant. If we don't achieve this vision, we have nothing. Understand that America is about to go through economic destruction. America is about to be destroyed. We have our own land, sisters and brothers, Arabia. This is more than a promise. This is God's sure and volatile word to give us our own land, Arabia. So we have been promised our own economics. We don't need America. We don't need America's economic system. We don't need the capitalism, democracy, none of that. We need freedom, justice, and equality which we will achieve by activating our right mind, which is the angel mind, and achieving discipline, the 5 mathematical pillars of Islam. However, without our own economics, we have nothing. So we have been promised our own economics, sisters and brothers, our own land. America is about to be destroyed. They're holding us captive here in the land of our imprisonment. All throughout scriptures, we're being told, come out of her, my people. And I'm paraphrasing, so that we don't partake of America's judgment, of America's plagues. Understand that America is being plagued because they won't let us go. And those plagues are to drive us up out of Egypt, which is America. So we have one vision, sisters and brothers. And they don't want us to achieve our vision. They don't want us to fulfill the Abrahamic covenant. However, our vision will be fulfilled and is in the process of being fulfilled as we speak. A people without a vision perish. That's exactly what they're setting out to do to the original black man and original black woman right here in America. They're dealing with us shrewdly, tricking us, deceiving us. So our promised land is Arabia. The Supreme Wisdom Lessons tells you that our heavenly home is the best part of the planet Earth, Arabia, at the holy city Mecca. There's no coincidence that this war is happening right now, the war in the Middle East, in which the devil, America and Britain, Satan, false Israel, and the dragon, which is the house of Assad, are being purged, are being in the process of being thrown out of the Middle East. We are witnessing a purification process happening right now in the Middle East. And there's more. However, we're going to stick to the Middle East for this segment, sisters and brothers, on that purification subject. We're witnessing heaven being cleaned up of our enemies. Our home, our heavenly home, is Arabia. So there's a process that's happening very quickly, sisters and brothers, to prepare everything that we need to be successful. And we have been given all of the information that we need to survive and overcome this hellhole, this gravitational vortex, this land of our imprisonment that we've been in for the last 400 plus years. And the unsealed scriptures is our guide, sisters and brothers. We have a door out of America's destruction. We have a home to return to.
Fertilizer shortages are becoming a key factor for farmers. Analysts say it's already shifting expectations for the year ahead. Rabobank projects U.S. farmers will plant nearly 96 million acres of corn and more than 83 million acres of soybeans this spring, largely unaffected by rising input costs. But in other parts of the world, disruptions from the Middle East could hit hardest. Brazil, India, and Australia could limit crop expansion and reduce yields. Analysts say those pressures are most likely to affect farmers with less access to credit, raising concerns for global food production and long-term supply.
Due to the ongoing US, Israel, and Iran conflict, you must prepare for a severe food shortage. Most people think only oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz, but that is simply not true. This narrow waterway is also an important route for global fertilizer. Reportedly, around 50% of the world's traded urea fertilizer moves directly through the Strait of Hormuz. If this military standoff continues, a global food crisis is inevitable. Urea plays a critical role in food production, and the biggest producers are located around the Persian Gulf, including Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Large shipments from these nations pass through this route daily. If the strait remains disrupted, we face a massive fertilizer crisis. When supply drops, global agriculture is heavily affected. Dependent countries like Pakistan, India, Brazil, and African nations will face major problems. If this route stays blocked, the impact goes beyond energy markets, triggering higher food prices, lower crop production, and severe shortages. Tell me below what will happen next.
Well, we have a major problem. Farmers are actually skipping this planting season. Some farmers are selling their land to developers, others are leasing it out to other farmers, and right now it is a huge concern. This could mean a food crisis or food shortage is upon us. It could be in the next several months, and that's what experts are concerned with. I've been telling you this for the past several weeks, that a food crisis is likely coming. Exactly what it looks like and who it impacts, that we just don't know. But look at this. It says, some Minnesota farmers skipping planting season amid rising fuel and fertilizer costs. Now, I want to read a little bit of this to you, because there are several factors that are being considered here. It is the cost of fuel, the cost of fertilizer, the cost of just planting and the labor, but there's also things like, shipping, what are we going to do there? And then you factor in a possible drought, you factor in water shortages in some parts of the United States, and I talked about this just yesterday, and then on top of that, you factor in the actual price of the crops. Everything is going against farmers these days. Look at this right here. It says, planting is underway and spring conditions have been good across much of Minnesota. But even so, some farmers are electing to sit out a year. Says, it's very dry for April 20th. We have great field conditions, dry soil. The frost is out of the ground. Okay. It says right here, as a farmer, I'm optimistic that eventually we're going to have a market that will support farming. It says right here, the neighbors will pay me $300 an acre, and I can just take the year off. I mean, yeah, it's a very particular set of criteria for you to be able to do that. But this is what people are doing. They're taking a year off of farming. Okay, think about this for a second. Now, I asked a couple people that, again, are farmers, and one of them is selling some of his, or renting out some of his land. Listen to this right here, okay? This person says, and I quote, I don't think enough people are talking about our food shortage that we have here in the United States. Many farmers that I know have personally stopped planting new crops for this season. Many, and including myself, won't make any money due to tariffs, the war, and the rising oil and fertilizer prices. And because of that, we are using our land for other things. Personally, I rented my land to a group for a music and craft festival. I know I won't make a lot of money for this entire year, but it's enough to pay my bills for the next few months. So I'm happy with that. That's what he said. That he is going to rent his land out. And I don't know how much. I don't know how much this person has. But he's going to rent his land out to a group for a music and a craft festival. I don't know if it's music and craft, or it's a music festival, and then later on, it will be a craft festival. Have no clue. Didn't ask. But I think that's interesting because more and more farmers are considering that exact move. Just not farming this year. Look at this one right here. It says, not very appealing. Low crop prices weigh on Minnesota farmer going into planting. If the crop prices are low, why would somebody go and pay more for the fuel, the machinery, right? The water, everything. Why would they, and the fertilizer, why would they pay more to get it, pretty much growing when the crop price is not supporting the cost of actually planting? That's the issue. And I think a lot of people are missing that. Look at this one right here. It says South Alabama farmers delay planting amid global shipping disruption. It says rising fertilizer costs, supply delays leaves Mobile and Baldwin County growers weighing whether to plant this season. Somebody else wrote to me, this is exactly what they wrote. And I quote, "You are right. A food crisis is coming and most people have no idea how bad it could get. I would normally help out my brother on his farm, but he hasn't planted anything this year. My brother says that because of crop prices and recent labor costs, we need to change our plans. We have roughly 110 acres of wheat, but he says he is saying that we need to switch to soybeans if we plan to keep going and make money. Instead of the full 110 acres, we are only going to harvest 40 acres because that is all we have the ability to do this year." And he even brought up the idea of selling 25 acres to a nearby farmer so that we have some cash for a few years. Okay, now here's what I find interesting. One person says they're going to rent out their land, okay, to music and craft festival. This person says they're considering selling 25 acres of land to a nearby farmer so that they have cash for at least a few years. That's interesting. Two different ideas, two different styles here. But what's similar about all this is the farmer isn't making money. Farming is not making the money. That's the difference. Okay? And again, they say they have 110 acres of wheat. From what I know personally, wheat is expensive because it does require a lot more fertilizer for it to grow. So if you don't have a lot of wheat, you don't have high wheat, that's an issue. Okay, you don't need to have based off, again, my farming knowledge, which I'm not a farmer, I'm not an avid farmer here, but you don't need a lot of acres. But if your wheat's not getting high, that's an issue. If it's very short because you don't have enough fertilizer, that's the problem. That's why you're not making enough money, is because it's not getting high. Okay, not necessarily you need more acres. If you have 200 acres but your wheat is only a foot tall, it doesn't do much for you. But you have 50 acres and now your wheat's like 3, 4, 5 feet tall, that's going to do a whole lot better. Okay, because again, it requires less water, less maintenance. Okay, and again, same amount of fertilizer. So that's the key there. I want to show you one last thing though. Okay, it says right here, war-driven fertilizer. Diesel spikes threaten U.S. farmers at start of planting season. Planting season has begun. Planting season started like a month or so ago. Okay, and in different parts of the United States. The issue here is simple. We have a water shortage in certain parts of the United States, especially on the West Coast and even in the Southwest as well. So that's an issue. We have some interesting temperatures. I was watching a TikTok just this morning, and the farmer was saying that, well, they were getting out trying to do as much as they possibly could because of the weather. The weather went from freezing to 70 degrees, and it just went back and forth. Now, I was traveling just the other day, and one of the things I noticed, I was coming home, and it was probably about 11, maybe it's almost midnight, and I'm coming home, and I'm realizing that there's people out spraying some orchards. They're spraying, or they're like putting pesticides or whatever it is, and they're doing this at like 11 o'clock at night. And I thought this was interesting because, again, why would they be doing it at that time? Well, I looked into it. Some say, well, because of the weather, that they need to get the pesticides on at a specific time or a specific temperature, which sometimes it means it's in the middle of the day. Other times it's not, and it's in the middle of the night, just because of specific temperatures. But again, temperatures have been just insane this past several months. And so right now, some are saying that that's the hard part, is they are trying to keep their crop. They want to harvest, but the issue is, should they even plant? Because again, why would they plant? They'd get the water, they'd get the fertilizer, they'd have all the fuel costs. Why would they do all that and not make any money? That's the big question. So I'll leave you with that, but just understand at this time, there's a lot of concern that some of these farmers aren't planting and don't plan to harvest simply because of the cost, which could actually impact every single one of us, because we would actually have a food shortage here in the United States. So,
all right, before we get into this last clip, sisters and brothers, some brief commentary. America is telling you, sisters and brothers, that they have not planted the crops that's needed to sustain the economy. They got all these different reasons why, but the bottom line is that due to the war in the Middle East, the Strait of Hormuz being blocked, gas prices going up, America's not able to get the resources that they need to prepare their soil so that it can even grow these different crops, these fruits and vegetables that's needed. So America is in a lot of trouble, sisters and brothers. And just having a delayed planting season is bad enough. However, these farmers are taking the year off. So what does that mean? They're taking money instead of growing the crops. So if the farmers are taking a year off, then what is going to happen when America is kicked out the Middle East and they're not getting any oil at all? Plus, every other nation that America has been bullying and terrorizing, it shows that America will not have any friends. Everyone will turn their back on America. All right, we know America and Britain will be aligned, and they are aligned with each other now. However, that has limitations as well. And the bottom line is that America, once that bully is exposed, no one is afraid of the bully anymore. And that's what's happening to America. So all of these other nations that they have been taken from, no one is accepting America's mess anymore. So this famine that even America is telling you, famine is on the horizon. Famine is brewing. With the decisions, the actions that are being done right before us, sisters and brothers. This war in the Middle East is not a joke, sisters and brothers. This is serious business. Iran is not playing. America will not win this battle. You have not seen these devils hungry, famished, starving. We have not seen these devils in a desperate life or death situation. Now let's talk about us for a moment, sisters and brothers. America has all blacks classified as 3/5 human through the U.S. Constitution. 3/5 human means that they're classifying us as animals. Animals is meat. Animals can be eaten. So they have legalized us as their food source. They have not changed the U.S. Constitution. They've made all these different amendments and all these so-called so-called black leaders, these black democrats, part of the Democratic Party. They're master's children, black-faced devils. They're totally against us. They act like they're speaking for the black community. However, there's two groups of black people in the black community. The term black is an umbrella that all black people are under here in America. However, that does not identify the bloodline. There's two different types of black people right here in America. Original blacks and European blacks. The field Negroes and the house Negroes. All right, and it's a scientific, biological fact that you are the seed of your father. And so, for the last 400 plus years of us being raped relentlessly by these devils, they forced their devil seed into our womb and forced us to give birth to their house Negroes, their demon children, half devil, half man, Europeans and black skin. So black is an umbrella term that they use, however, it does not identify your bloodline, all right? So all blacks in America are classified as 3/5 human, which means they have us classified as animals. And these democrats, they pretend as if they have our best interests at heart, sisters and brothers, but they don't. Why haven't any of them changed that 3/5 human clause? They fought for gay marriage, they fought for abortion, they fought for everything that is totally against the original nation. They have not changed that 3/5 human clause. Why is that? A lot of these house Negroes don't even think that that applies to them. However, the point of the matter is that these devils have already legalized us as their food source. So it's legal to eat black people. So what will these devils do in a famine? What will they do when there is no food, when there is no water? What will they do to us, sisters and brothers? What are they planning? What are they planning? Let's keep moving.
I'll admit it. I will eat my neighbors. I'm not letting my kids die. I'm just going to be honest. My superpower is being honest. I've extrapolated this out, and I won't have to for a few years because I got food and stuff. But I'm literally looking at my neighbors now and going, I'm ready to hang them up and gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors. See, my superpower is being honest. I'll eat your. I will. I'm combat model, optimal self-sufficiency. Probably the leader. The point is have you thought about that yet? Because I'm somebody that thought I could fix this, and I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like sizing up my neighbor, how I'm going to haul him up by chain and chop his ass up? I'll do it. My children aren't going hungry. I will eat your ass. That's why I want the globalists to know. I will eat your ass first. I will eat you. So all you spirit cookers act all tough all day. How you're doing your little satanic rituals, drinking blood and stuff. I'll drink your blood. You understand that? I will hang your up and cut you into cutlets like a filet mignon and grill your before I watch my daughters starve to death. See, now you took society and civilization as if it was some joke you could piss on all day. Do you understand? You unleash the animal. Once you do, you unleash the beast. And you're not the beast. I don't claim I'm the most tough guy around, but compared to you, I'm Godzilla on steroids.
All right, sisters and brothers. There you have it, out of the devil's own mouth. If there's no food, we are on the menu. See, and these devils, they're going to make an attempt on us before they eat their own animals and their children. Again, we're classified as 3/5 human. So, this is only a portion of what we're up against, sisters and brothers. Because on top of this economic collapse, false Israel will be destroyed. Now, false Israel has stolen our identity. They claim that they are the true seed of Abraham, yet they have none of the history. They don't have any of the DNA to prove it. They're not the seed of Abraham, period. They are the seed of the devil. They don't have the 400-year history of sojourning in a strange land that is not theirs, being enslaved and afflicted. The original black man and original black woman right here in the hills of North America are the only ones that fit the description that's outlined in our father Abram's vision of horror. So, false Israel has stolen our identity. They control our image on the media. They used to do false Israel, Al Jolson, these Jews, they used to paint their faces black and do minstrel shows. Degrading and making fun of our experience. Making fun of the horror that they inflicted on us. However, now they have their black-faced children in these different positions of power in the big house. Kevin Hart, Beyonce, Cardi B, the list goes on. They have their black-faced children, their demon children in the big house, okay? And they're put over us as role models, overseers. Same thing that these devils did when we were in the fields. All right? Forced us to produce their demon children, and the demons are put over us as taskmasters, overseers, And today it's the same. It's just been updated, okay? And so they're on the TV distorting our image to the whole world, misrepresenting us, turning us into a laughing stock. Louis Farrakhan and his clown show, the entertainers and the rappers and on the media, false Israel is behind it. Again, false Israel controls our image because they are the ones who have our identity. They have stolen our identity. And they're using their black-faced children to misrepresent us to the whole world. False Israel claims that they're the seed of Abraham. They claim that the Abrahamic covenant has been fulfilled. Yet they're not in Arabia. They're sitting in the Holy Land, Jerusalem, Palestine. Scriptures tells us those who call themselves Jews are not. They are liars, the synagogue of Satan. And I'm paraphrasing here. False Israel is Satan. So in the middle of this economic collapse as a result of America and Britain getting kicked out the Middle East, remember, America and Britain are supporting false Israel with military aid, financing, resources. And once America and Britain are kicked out of the Middle East, the House of Saud as well, false Israel goes under siege and is destroyed. This famine has already taken place by then. This economic collapse, this economic destruction is already here in America. So on top of there not being any food, it's about to be revealed that we are the true seed of Abraham, sisters and brothers, because once false Israel, these devils cannot let false Israel go down before they destroy us, because if false Israel goes down, then it's clear that the original man and woman right here in North America are the true seed of Abraham. So understand that we are in danger, sisters and brothers, because we are working with a very small window of time in which America's getting kicked out. America's under all this economic pressure, the collapse, the famine. And then on top of that, false Israel is about to be destroyed. And it's about to be clear to the whole world, clear to us, that we are the true seed of Abraham. And all of the things that come along with that. That's inspiring. That's empowering right there. Knowledge of self. So they can't have that, sisters and brothers. Understand that they have a plan in place to totally wipe us out of existence, to totally destroy us. So the cannibalism attack, that's one threat. We will also be under attack because we are the true seed of Abraham. And these devils cannot take any chances on the original black man and woman and the European, the demon blacks. So they have a plan to attack all blacks, sisters and brothers, all blacks, to prevent us from leaving the country and going home to our promised land, Arabia. Plus, they're hungry. And they have us classified as food. So, sisters and brothers, we are in danger. And we must be prepared to move out at any moment, sisters and brothers. You should have a 30-day supply of food and water that does not need to be cooked in your car, already packed up, ready to go. You should have gas containers safely secured, ready to go, so that we can get to safety, get to the safety point, sisters and brothers. Uniting under one vision, the Abrahamic covenant, coming together as an exceedingly great army overnight. And continuing our exodus out of America and fulfilling the Abrahamic covenant, going home where we belong, sisters and brothers. So this is part one. On part two, we'll get into what the scriptures have to say about the famine and what's to come. And so that brings this segment to a close, sisters and brothers. I will be back with more. Assalamu alaikum.